Let's start off with a conversation about one of our colleagues here at the radio station. News Talk 1010's Desmond Cole was on the show yesterday, referring to a comment you made a few weeks ago at the scene of a shooting, a needless, senseless shooting in Scarborough. It happened in a very small playground in Scarborough on a Thursday afternoon around 5 o'clock. Kids were out there playing, about 11 in total, and two young girls were shot as a result of an individual who fired off a weapon. Those two girls were rushed down to the hospital for sick kids. You showed up on the scene a little while afterwards. We didn't know who the suspect was at that point in time, and I know that's an important part of this story, but you made this comment on the scene, and that led to further discussion.
The police are working aggressively, and they're working with full resources deployed to track these people, these profoundly antisocial kind of sewer rats down. And I'm just confident our police are good enough, and they're working as hard as they possibly can to make progress on this, and that's what the family really wanted to hear.
I want to play for you what Desmond Cole said yesterday and give you an opportunity to respond. Here is the first part of what Desmond told us.
If you're going to target the black community and say something needs to be done in our community about crime, but then you're going to simultaneously refer to the assailants in crime as sewer rats, we know who you're talking about, John Tory. And he doesn't use this language in any other context, Ryan, so of course it's not acceptable.
He goes a little further to say that the language you used is dehumanizing people.
You don't treat people who you call sewer rats kindly. You don't say, why did you do this? You say you're a sewer rat and you're vermin, you rot in a cage, and if you get out again in 5 or 10 years, and well, whatever, we didn't want to help you because you're a sewer rat. It's that exact attitude that is reproducing violence instead of ending it. And I want the mayor of the city of Toronto to end violence, not to dehumanize a small group of people that he thinks are responsible. That's not his job.
Mayor Tory, when you hear your words of that evening, coupled with what Desmond Cole has had to say, are there any regrets using the term sewer rats to describe those who were responsible for that evening?
Well, let's be clear. He coupled them with some suggestion that it involved some implication of anybody's race or skin color or anything else. I had, as you pointed out a moment ago, I had no idea when I said that who the suspects were, but I will say this. I'm sorry I'm going to disappoint him by telling him that as far as I'm concerned, and I've even heard from people in the black community today, if you want to bring that into this, which I didn't, but I've even heard from people today who say to me, even those words wouldn't be strong enough to represent some of their views. People who live in those neighborhoods who are afraid for their lives because of these gunmen, that anybody who walks down the street carrying a gun in their pocket and uses it, or who opens fire on a playground wantonly, I would say those are people we've got to get off our streets. I would say that almost any word you could use to describe them, I think is inadequate to describe the revulsion that I feel, and I believe the people of Toronto feel, for those people who are presently causing all of us to have to take action to preserve the safety of our city. So I just think, that he's the one that's way off base, and I think he doesn't speak for anybody in saying what he did except for himself.
Is there a point, though, that could be taken from what he had to say when it comes to, not viewing these individuals in a humane way? So therefore, how can you help them once they get into the system, or perhaps try to rehabilitate them? Is there anything that you heard there that you could say, okay, well, maybe I went too far?
Ryan, I have a record that goes way back before I was mayor of spending large portions of my life trying to make sure, including in particular some of the problems faced by some of our challenged neighborhoods in Toronto, trying to raise money for support, go and listen to groups. This was before I was in public life, to make sure that people had a chance. But if you said to me, am I going to show much in the context of mercy at this stage in our situation, where the people that I have spoken about most frequently when it comes to tougher bail laws, for example, are people who over and over again are carrying guns and using them in these kinds of acts of retaliation that are about things that are not substantive, not that would excuse it anyway. And I'm terribly sorry. I am not going to have Desmond Cole or anybody else sort of try to browbeat me into saying that those people are Boy Scouts, or they sort of made a wrong turn on the way to Queen Street to shoot somebody. They showed up on Queen Street, pulled a gun out of their pocket, and opened fire. What do people call that? What are those people relative to what is a safe city and we want it to stay safe? What do they represent? The biggest threat to our way of life and to the safety of our city of any people. And I just think he's the one, that is doing things. Frankly, I think some of what he said is that you could sue him over it, that he connected things that are not connected. I'm just talking about people who carry guns in their pockets and get them out and use them, and those people, to me, are deserving of very little of our mercy.
Are you saying when you talk about suing him, is that something you have considered, given the comments he made, or
I'm busy? You know what I'm busy trying to do, Ryan? I'm busy trying to pull together with great success offers of help from Premier Ford, from Prime Minister Trudeau, from Minister Goodale, from community leaders and others, while he is sitting in his armchair quarterback chair saying things that are completely outrageous and that I don't think are agreed upon by anybody else in the community to speak of, a handful of people. I'm trying to pull together an action plan to actually deal with the violence. And I must say, when I've been in those neighborhoods, listening to people and visiting with the mother of those girls that got shot, and visiting them at the hospital, and going up to the neighborhood to talk to the neighbors, which is where I was when that very recording was made, I haven't seen them there often. I haven't run across them. And so I will continue to do my job, which is to make sure that I both express the revulsion of this community at people who pull guns out of their pockets, have them to begin with, pull them out over just trivial matters, and open fire on innocent people. I'm not talking, by the way, about the victims here. I'm talking about the shooters. And I will carry on putting together an action plan to try and make sure the city stays safe. And that's exactly what I'm spending my time doing.
Let's come back and